Hey, it's Rick, and I've been dying to show you this monster deal that Adam lined up. You actually saw him negotiating that deal on the phone in the first couple videos. And what we're going to do this time, we're going to start with analyzing the property, and then we're going to get Adam on the line tomorrow, and I'm going to make you one more video. He's going to go over exactly how that negotiation went, and I'm even going to show you a little bit of the closing that he did with that. So let's take a look at this property that he picked up at the very last minute. I think he redeemed it the last possible day because the owner just wouldn't come to the proper terms with him until the pressure got high enough. Now this property was assessed at over $200,000 and had a tax lien sold on it right around July 14th of 2009, and Adam came in right at the last minute there and rescued it from tax foreclosure. It's actually right on Lake Michigan. You see this little map quest of it here. It's right on the border between Lake County and Porter County. This is probably like the northeasternmost county in our property in our whole county, and the assessor lists that property at over 2,500 square feet, I'm told, and it looks like it. So let's go over to the county website, start over there, gather a little information, and see what we can expect Adam to be able to get for this one. Okay, so here I am back at my county's website, and I've got the property pulled up, and as you can see, current total value on this is $223,700. And you know, that's not really such a big surprise since it's a large property right on the lake. And let's confirm a couple other details here. Let's go over to the improvements. And yes, we can see it has 2,570 square feet. And if we click on that, we can see that it has 3 bedrooms and 1 bath. And again, we see that property picture right there. So we've got the data that we're going to start with. Let's go over and analyze this property and see what we might be able to get out of it. Now, before we go and analyze this property, I did want to point out a couple unusual things that we're going to have to take into account here. This is, again, a larger picture of the map quest of the property. And, you know, we're going to do a radius search again, and I usually like to keep it within a half mile. But here's our problem here. This radius search of a half mile is going to look like this. And most of that area is going to be in this other county right here, and it's going to be in the lake. So we might need to go a little more than a half mile in order to assess this property our way. And the other thing is that this is a beachfront property, and as you go further in, the properties become much less valuable. So we want to look for properties that are in this area right here that have sold before to get a feel for what the value of this property could be. So let's go over to the MLS. Now, I got a question before. What software do I use to analyze these properties? This is just the Realtor's MLS system, which my local realtor lets me use when I want to analyze properties. You can often go to Zillow.com and do a very similar search to this and be able to pull up the same data. It's just that in my particular area, data isn't available on Zillow. So give that a try. If that doesn't work for you, find a local realtor. There's plenty of them that are hungry right now. They'll help. They'll let you access their system, possibly in their office, and do these kind of analysis. So let's go over and take a look at the MLS. So here we are back on the MLS. I've actually widened the radius to a mile, as I mentioned before. I've typed the address in. Let's put residential properties, because that's what this one is. And let's see what's sold in the last year. And let's look at these on a map so that we can see which ones are truly comparable because they're by the lake. So once we do the search, we're going to then click on the map feature. We have to select all the properties that came up, and we click on the map feature. And then we can see everything that is sold near the lake, like this property is. So let's move up here a little bit, and we can see all the properties that have sold near the lake. Now we got one here. It's sold for $235,000, and that is right near the subject property, which is right here. Other properties near the lake, we've got a couple there. $283,900. This one's a little further from the lake, $148,500. That one's only $100,000, but that's a good 2 blocks from the lake. Here's another one, $268,000, and another one here, $170,000. So we're well into the mid hundreds. Let's look at a few of these properties here. 14, 15, 16, 17. Let's kind of see how those might compare. to the subject property. Let's see what kind of square footage we have. You know, these are all smaller than the property that Adam just picked up. The square footage is 1264, 1032, 1713, 1656, and those are all high enough to yield prices of $170,000 to $283,000. Now, here's the catch. Adam's house does need a lot of work, and that is certainly something we come to expect when we buy tax sale properties. Let's see if these are all fixed up here. Yes, this one's fixed up quite nicely. That sold for $283,000. Let's see, this one down here for $268,000. It looks half decent, nothing too special. That's actually quite outdated, it looks like there. Let's go back and see the other couple here. Okay, this is a pretty small little house right here. No interior pictures, but it looks pretty nice and fixed up. $235,000. And let's look at that fourth one. Another pretty much a plain Jane house here as well, but it is right backing up to the beach like Adam's house is. And let's look at a couple of the ones a little lower. So we know we could top out with Adam's house probably in the 250 to 280 range based on these comps here. And these other ones here are a little further from the beach. Let's see if there's any fixers that might be in here. Okay, this one once again, it's not in terrible shape, but it certainly isn't updated very fancily, anything like that. And we're moving further and further away from the beach with the rest of these properties. So even if Adam's house needs $50,000 to $75,000 in work, it would seem really reasonable to me that he'd be able to get $150 to $170 for it, especially since it's right there by the lake. And if he fixes it all up, you can see that he'll be coming in at $283 to $268. And then I also ran a real quick search the exact same way to see what's on the market right now. Let's see what's on the market right now. We got one here on the very same block, $239,000, $450,000, $219,000, $649,000, $649,000, $625,000. We're getting a little far away from the property now, but we can see the value is definitely there. There's even one for $289,000 right outside the lake, a couple blocks away. We've got three properties over here, $399,000, $449,000. We're really not seeing anything too far under $200,000, so this is really looking great. So tomorrow we are going to talk to him about the deal that he cut. We're going to find out some numbers. We're even going to see a little bit about his closing. And once we find out what he paid for the property, we'll be in a good position to see what he may be able to make on it. And we talked to a realtor today, and we heard that the dirt over there is worth $125,000, just the lot. So let's hope he can do a little bit better than that. And we'll wrap up the whole case study tomorrow. We'll see you then.